Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. We have a lot to talk about, and I'll just read you really quickly. Durham also obtained, quote, internal billing records. Internal billing records from Perkins Co. that show when Sussman, quote, logged certain hours as working on the Alpha Bank matter. Though not the Baker meeting, quote, he billed the time to Clinton's 2016 campaign. The news report said. So that's one of the reasons that they have allegedly caught this man who possibly lied to the FBI. And that's one of the main reasons they're going to very soon indict another lawyer in addition to Kevin Kleinsmith, the FBI attorney. There's now an attorney for a law firm that was part of disseminating the Steele dossier. Rome wasn't built in a day, ladies and gentlemen. What do you expect? Do you expect, ladies and gentlemen, that Comey or Clapper or Brennan are going to be handcuffed and walked out, and CNN's going to, touch themselves in ecstasy like they did with Stone? No, that's not going to happen right now. Little by little, ladies and gentlemen, you can't expect the world. We have a special counsel that's ongoing. It is important. You should pay attention to it because the people who set up Trump are now being investigated. We're going to get to that in the next 2 hours or so. And hit subscribe to this channel, people. We are almost again at 184,000 subs. We are almost at 184,000. And we're there. So tell your friends about this channel. Also, this morning, was the first segment on the Stock Market Crash channel, which used to be H.A. Goodman's other channel. There's about 16,800 subs there. Tell your friends about that channel. Here is the segment. So I will put the segment in the chat, and it is right here. So I'll put that in the chat right now. And that segment is Stock Market Crash Imminent as Inflation, CPI, and PPI rise. Margin debt hits record. Consumer confidence low. So I talk about all the economic indicators and why they're leading to a market crash. And every single day I'll discuss, if there's good news, I'll discuss that also. But unfortunately, I believe that we are heading towards a devastating stock market crash for a number of reasons, from derivatives not being regulated, Dodd-Frank, the portion of Dodd-Frank that regulates derivatives hasn't been fully implemented 10 years down, 10, 11 years from the 08 collapse, 12 years, 13 years. So and then you have margin debt at a record high. The quantitative easing that has helped the economy initially. When they say that the Fed is printing money, they're buying government debt, they're buying government bonds, and the money is then circulated back into the economy. That is not helping, because we're not rebounding in the manner that we should. And GDP is continually being revised downward. So there's a whole bunch of shipping. The shipping index is at record highs. So we have a whole bunch of problems, not just in this country, but globally. That's in addition to Americans still being left in Afghanistan. That's in addition to the second attorney being indicted, perhaps in the next couple of days, and we'll get to that. So, ladies and gentlemen, that link is there. Hit subscribe to my super chat. I can't do this without you. So, to my super chat. Thank you so very, very much. I cannot do this without you, ladies and gentlemen, and your support is greatly appreciated. Let's read this right now. Durham seeks indictment against lawyer at Steele Dossier-linked law firm over Alpha Bank matter. Now, let's just really, really quickly, when you look at what they're trying to do with Trump. So hit subscribe to this Stock Market Crash channel. That'll be below in the pinned comment as well, and I put it in the chat. Go and type in Trump. Paul Ryan was convinced Donald Trump had narcissistic personality disorder. Well, who cares what Paul Ryan thinks? This is CNN. This is the news on Trump that CNN is pumping out. Okay? They have nothing. I thought that he was going to be indicted and charged. I thought that he had engaged in financial crimes through this labyrinth of criminality in his tax returns. I thought that happened. What happened? I thought that was the case. Wasn't that the case? I thought that he had there's so much evidence of his criminality, his assault on the rule of law. I thought, why isn't he indicted? And it's not because Comey covered up any potential crimes like other people. Comey said Clinton didn't intend to use servers. He said Comey said Clinton didn't intend to use servers. So, is anyone coming to Trump's defense to help him circumvent legal repercussions? Why isn't there an indictment or an arrest? Or why haven't they charged him for January? Well, the FBI cleared him, or for his tax returns, or for working alongside Russia and selling out the country. He was a traitor. Remember, they're saying that he committed treason. So why isn't he indicted? I mean, you have to ask that question. Don't debate anybody with derangement issues. Don't do it. It never works out. But why isn't the man indicted? The reason he's not is because they've made up everything about Trump. They're now relegated to Paul Ryan's psychological assessment of Trump, when very likely Paul Ryan has this narcissistic personality disorder. Okay? The psychological profile of Donald Trump is not different. It's not that different from President Obama, and it's not that different from George W. Bush, and their profiles are all similar. Bill Clinton, they're all similar in psychological profile. Okay? The difference is that Trump, you don't become president of the United States of America and not have a certain drive and not have a certain level of confidence. Okay? The difference between Trump and every other president we've had in recent memory is that Trump does not care about the norms and traditions that govern both Democrats and Republicans. That was seen as a negative. Carl Stevens, thank you. Thank you so very much, Carl. Greatly, greatly appreciated. Hope all is well. Carl Stevens, thank you. Thank you, Carl. Sorry about the buffering, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know if you can hear me. Carl, thank you. Oh, Lord. What is wrong with this? Can you hear me, ladies and gentlemen? So, What is going on with this? Is it buffering just on my end? It doesn't stop buffering. Can you hear me and see me, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you very much, Carl Stevens. Thank you. Thank you so much. So it was just buffering on my end. Wow. Oh, I like the way that sounds. Carl Stevens, thank you so very much. Thank you, Carl. Thank you so much for starting it off. JSpot51, but Paul Ryan has beautiful eyes. Carl Stevens, JSpot51. Carl, thank you again. So, they don't have anything on Trump. They never did. They never had anything on Trump. Thank you, Carl. Thank you, JSpot. They never had anything on Trump. Insider, Trump lawyer had to explain to him how the Supreme Court works. Book. I mean, a book. There are going to be books from Bob Woodward and who's the other author? They're going to come out with books. The books are going to come out with absurd, unsubstantiated rumors and allegations, baseless claims about Trump. Trump didn't know how to tie his shoes. He didn't. Kayleigh McEnany had to teach him how to tie his shoes. Oh my goodness. Trump didn't understand. He never knew how the game of baseball worked. Yeah, Sean Spicer had to actually teach him the game of baseball. Oh my God. Trump didn't know, he actually didn't know where China was located. We had a border with China, and they were our neighbor. And so on and so forth. And that's all they're going to do. They have nothing on Trump. They have nothing on this man. And so we know he was set up and framed. So we'll get to that in a second. But here, House January 6th committee seeks records on Milley's China call about Trump. So there's a book, comes out, says that Trump had to that Milley had to call China because he was so afraid that Trump would start a nuclear confrontation and, oh my God, war because he lost the election. So again, you have the most absurd nonsense. It's like the most absurd nonsense, but here, Durham seeks indictment against lawyer at Steele dossier-linked law firm over Alfa Bank. Okay, so Special Counsel John Durham reportedly seeks a grand jury indictment against Michael Sussman, a cybersecurity lawyer at Democratic-allied law firm closely linked to British ex-spy Christopher Steele's discredited dossier. The charge is said to be related to an alleged false statement to the FBI about a client's identity when Sussman pushed now-debunked claims about secret communications between Russia's Alfa Bank and Trump Organization in the lead-up to the 2016 presidential election. Durham, quote, has told the Justice Department that he will ask a grand jury to indict a prominent cybersecurity lawyer on a charge of making a false statement to the FBI. The New York Times reported on Wednesday, citing... Okay, so the report said Durham's case against Sussman, who works at the Powerhouse Perkins Co., a law firm, centers on the question of whom his client was when he conveyed certain suspicions about former President Donald Trump and Russia to then FBI General Counsel James Baker in 2016. Sussman relayed data and analysis from cybersecurity researchers who thought that odd internet data might be evidence of a covert communications channel. During the meeting with Baker, Durham has until the weekend to charge Sussman because of a 5-year statute of limitations. Neither Durham nor the Justice Department has commented. Baker testified in 2018 that Sussman, a former DOJ colleague of his, shared the Alfa Bank claims with him during a 2016 meeting. Notes from DOJ official Bruce Orr's 2016 meeting with Glenn Simpson show the Fusion GPS co-founder said New York Times was wrong to doubt the story that Alpha Bank and the Trump Organization were communicating through Secret Service. So, okay, this does not, they did everything possible. They did everything possible to find out if Trump had a secret communication with Russia. They didn't find anything. They found nothing. They didn't find anything. They found nothing. They had egg on their face yet again. Then they said he pressured Zelensky. Now they found that when trying to fabricate this hoax, they lied about how they did it. So basically, this is just this is different from them trying to set up George Papadopoulos and them trying to find out if Durham probe just indicted. Okay, so I'm going to change this. Durham grand jury indicts lawyer. Okay, so lawyer indicted, so they just indicted. Durham probe charges Washington. Why did I not see this? Okay, so let me change this. He just indicted, ladies and gentlemen. Why did I not see this earlier? Okay, sorry. So he just indicted as we speak. Indict second lawyer for lying to the FBI. So there you go. There you go. He was indicted, ladies and gentlemen. Durham probe indicts a second lawyer for lying to Bureau as special counsel expands investigation. So he just was indicted right now. Durham probe charges Washington lawyer with lying to the FBI. NPR, CNN lawyer indicted on charges of lying to FBI as part of Durham probe into Trump Russia. The Washington Post, Durham grand jury indicts lawyer whose firm represented Hillary Clinton's campaign. So he's been indicted. Okay. Clinton campaign lawyer Michael Sussman indicted for allegedly lying to FBI during Russia investigation. So there you go. A federal grand jury returned the indictment sought by special counsel John Durham against Democratic lawyer Michael Sussman, accusing him of lying to the FBI during the Russia investigation. The indictment accuses Sussman of hiding the fact he was working for the Clinton campaign while pushing for an investigation into then-candidate Donald Trump's ties to Russia in 2016. Trump appointed Durham to investigate the origins of the Russia probe, with indictment coming just weeks before the 5-year statute of limitations was set to expire. So there you go. He was indicted. Sussman, whose firm has previously represented the DNC, told the FBI's James Baker in 2019 he was not representing a client for when pushing for an investigation into Trump. Sussman denied any wrongdoing while withholding the fact he was working on behalf of the former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign. Lawyers for Sussman said he has committed no crime and that his prosecuting would be baseless, unprecedented, unwarranted deviation from apolitical and principled way the Department of Justice is supposed to work. They were working for Clinton's campaign, and they were trying to set up and frame Trump. This is the way Washington has worked, or the way Washington works now, is only for Trump, is baseless claims become reason to investigate. If, God forbid, you have Hunter's emails on a laptop, you cannot talk about it, and Lord knows you could never even investigate based on that. Oh my God, if you even dare, it's called baseless allegations, and you better not investigate. But you better believe that if a book is written about Trump, or if a law firm working and billing either the DNC or Clinton, actually taking money from them, is part of a government probe or helps foster suspicion that leads to a government investigation of Trump through fake and phony documents, literally purchased. They literally purchased documents literally purchased documents that incriminated Trump based on absurd fantasies. They literally purchased the Steele dossier. It was literally purchased. There wasn't a question as to whether it was genuine or there wasn't a question as to whether it was legitimate. It was a document purchased full of lies and baseless claims. And Twitter suspends the New York Post for breaking a story that's a legitimate, genuine story of a laptop that belonged to Hunter. That Hunter and Biden never even denied categorically belonged to them. The Biden campaign never categorically denied that Hunter's laptop contained incriminating evidence. Trump categorically denied the second the Steele dossier was out in the public. And notice the difference in social media algorithms. A completely phony, fake, fabricated, fake and fabricated. Eric, H526, thank you. Odyssey, it's going to take me a while, brother. It's going to take me a while. So I have to focus now on the stock market crash channel. I'll probably start the channel or start the channel in a couple of weeks, and then I'm not sure. I do need to start. I do need to actually create the Odyssey channel, but I will create that soon. Eric H526, thank you. Luke St. Martin, thank you. The two best moderators in all of YouTube. Eric, thank you as always. Lawyer indicted on charges of lying to FBI as part of Durham probe into Trump-Russia investigation. So he was indicted. A federal grand jury has indicted cybersecurity lawyer Michael Sussman as part of a special counsel's probe into the origins of Trump-Russia investigation, alleging he lied to the FBI general counsel. So Sussman told Baker he wasn't working on behalf of any client, yet prosecutors allege he was representing the Clinton campaign as well as a tech industry professional to provide the server data. The worst part of all of this, do you want to know what the most egregious part of all of this is? Do you want to know what the worst part of all of this is? What is the worst part of all of this, ladies and gentlemen? What is the worst, what is the most egregious, what is the most absurd part of this whole thing in your mind? I'll tell you what it is in my view. Do you want to know what the most absurd thing pertaining to this second indictment is? There was nothing criminal, and they didn't find anything between Alpha Bank and Trump. There was no secret communication. There was no secret communication. And you go, was there a secret channel between Russia Bank and Trump? The New Yorker. I mean, here, just securities.org, the Trump-Alfa Bank server mystery resurfaces. I mean, it's like It's pretty unbelievable. And the LA Times, the media colluded with the FBI. Now, there's some fake news. No. They routinely were in cahoots. I mean, it's just like, it's unbelievable that, and then they say, well, it's true that, this story was wrong and that story was wrong. The media is completely in the tank. In addition to people like Peter Strzok and Andrew McCabe and James Comey and Clapper and Brennan, and these are people who set up an incoming president. This is what tears apart democracy. Dean Diefendorf, it's about time. Greetings from a New Yorker in Miami. Dean, thank you. Thank you, Dean. I hope all is well. Hope you're doing well. Thank you. And Owners of Russia Bank sue BuzzFeed over Trump dossier. So a lot of the lawsuits, BuzzFeed and others got away from or circumvented lawsuits or trying to circumvent lawsuits by saying, well, it was a government investigation. But here, I mean, they couldn't find anything. Mueller literally found nothing. Time, Donald Trump's Alpha Bank connection still raises questions. Then this is 2019. Then why didn't Mueller indict anyone? This is the basic question that you need to ask. Okay, they're so suspicious, yet they have nothing. They have no way of proving any of their absurd, baseless lies. Why wasn't he indicted or charged? Because it's a very simple answer. They have nothing on Trump. They literally have nothing on Trump except their hysterical fever dreams where he's this monster that's this criminal that gets away with everything. Look, the Clintons had private servers outside of the U.S. government with top secret intelligence, and they got away with it. That's against the law, and that's a real problem for national security issues because you had top secret and special access program intelligence and information marked classified on servers that should never have, that weren't protected. And Mueller said his team, quote, identified numerous links between the Russian government and the Trump campaign, but did not establish that members of the Trump campaign conspired or coordinated with the Russian government in its election interference activities. So the basis of the hysteria was proven to be false. And you could find numerous links between the Russian government and Clinton's campaign, too. Just ask Uranium One, who actually gave them money. Just ask Putin, who met with Bill Clinton during the whole Uranium One thing. Ask President Obama, who did not veto the sale of 20% of U.S. uranium capacity at one point. So there you go. I mean, you know, it's like they found nothing. The Alpha Bank thing, the most egregious part of the Alpha Bank thing, is that these servers was a Trump server communicating with Russia. Oh, now you care about servers? This is Slate in October 31st, 2016. I don't know, were Clinton servers communicating with Russia? I guess we'll never find out since half the emails were deleted. What if Trump deleted half of his emails on servers outside of the US government? And they didn't even find an actual back channel between Trump and Alpha Bank and a server. They found nothing. But see, the thing is, they need to find. Hillary Clinton operatives pushed, now debunked, 2019. Servers, testimony reveals. The Clinton campaign, this is actually a 2019 Associated Press article. The Clinton campaign's operation to spread a now debunked story on a Russia bank Donald Trump computer linkage went further than previously known. Well, the Clinton campaign's operation spanned a lot more than the now debunked Alpha Bank server. It had to do with the Steele dossier. It had to do with everything that Trump went through. Everything that Trump went through the past 5 years. Okay? All of this, you have to understand the way morally superior, wonderful, apoplectic, but always morally superior liberals work. The way they work is give them a baseless claim about their political rival, and they will take it and run with it forever. If a claim that is backed by evidence, but not direct evidence or proof or categorical proof, but still evidence, like Hunter's laptops with incriminating emails saying, oh, thanks for helping us meet your father, and you give 10% of the money to Biden and all of these things. And how can you use your influence on behalf of the company? You have no right to even talk about it. It could have been Russia. It could have been Putin. They defend themselves with the fake and phony fantasies that they conjure up. And they're the ones who are giving psychological evaluations of others. They're the ones who believe, like, talk to invisible people and believe that Russian operatives surround Trump at all times, invisible ones. And then they say, well, how dare you say that our pure Biden, whatever. And Biden is literally on camera saying, hey, man, and you know what? You better believe, man. You better believe. I said, hey, billion. You know you're not going to get the $1 billion, man. You're not going to get the $1 billion, man. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And you know what? And guess what? They fired that attorney, the Ukrainian prosecutor. Yeah. Give me 5. Yeah. And then immediately, they were in public relations mode. How dare you? How dare you? Oh my God, how dare you? How could you? Accuse Biden, our beloved mashed potato brains, of forcing out a prosecutor because his son, who doesn't even speak Ukrainian and who had no background in energy, oil or gas, how dare, and he's getting what, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a month, okay, and now he's an artiste. I mean, the level of hypocrisy. If it was Donald Trump, I mean, and Hunter used the most offensive word in the English language. Talk about supremacy. And then you get people who are the most disingenuous hypocrites on the planet saying, well, what do I care? He's not in government. Oh, yes, he is in government. His name is in government. The media and government is essentially protecting him. They impeached Trump because of the notion that Biden would act in a corrupt manner to protect his son's business interests, which happen to be Biden's business interests as well. The notion that he would force a prosecutor out because the oil and gas company known for corruption in another country gave Hunter a board of directors position simply because they wanted access to the United States government. I don't think there's anything wrong with nepotism to a certain extent. You want a family business? Great. But if your family business is selling the country, well, then that's not good. So it's like, why do you think that it's taken this long to realize that Democrats have nothing on Trump? Like, the act of them continually accusing Trump for the next 3 years, because Biden's presidency, mashed potato brains and bumbling Blinken and all of them, it's like a completely failed presidency, okay? They have media propping them up, and still his poll numbers have tanked. I mean, poll numbers are a function of media coverage. Media influences poll numbers, okay? When you have BuzzFeed publishing the Steele dossier, but they wouldn't publish Hunter's emails, that's not only a double standard, it's an example of how the polling industry works. When you have media that wouldn't touch a story that's legitimate, but would then fawn and disseminate and do everything possible to spread lies and gossip about Trump, with a dossier literally purchased by Clinton and the DNC, you have the basis for all the polls. Media props up Biden and Clinton and Democrats and tries to suppress support for Trump. Craig, Craig Vanderwerp, thank you so very, very much. Van Antwerp, thank you so very much, Craig. Thank you so much. I hope all is well. Thank you, Craig. Thank you. Thank you, Craig. But this is the issue. The truth about them is more detrimental to their side than lies and fabricated, debunked nonsense is for Trump. They're going to continue. There's going to be a certain point, okay? There's going to be a certain point in the next 3 years. Zen, thank you. There's going to be a certain point in the next 3 years where they say, okay, remember the old commercial, where's the beef? Where's the beef? They're going to say, where's the beef? They're going to say, why isn't this man indicted and charged? And then they'll have to look into the mirror. And then they won't like what they see. He's not charged, he's not indicted because they have nothing on him. If Madam Secretary was held to the same standards every other citizen would be held to, you better believe when the FBI wants to go after somebody, they do everything possible. Prosecutors, on a city level, if they want to go after somebody, they do. Prosecutors generally try they want to go when they want to go after somebody, it's, and if you had servers running outside of the United States government and you weren't named Clinton, you better believe you'd be in jail for a long time, prison for a long time, with top secret intelligence. And that was an actual crime. You can't run servers. It's interesting how they accuse Trump of everything they're guilty of. So apparently, like Ivanka used private email. Well, it wasn't private email, you imbecile. It was about servers. Oh, Trump might have communicated with Putin with a server from Trump Tower to Alpha Bank. Or an Alpha Bank server. And it's like, well, that was debunked. That never happened. So now you care about servers. Now you care about secret communication. Craig, thank you. And it's like they still can't indict him. They still can't charge him or arrest him. But prosecutors are going after everyone around him. And then they say, oh my God, how could he doubt the integrity of results? It's like, well, Bernie Sanders, that's one example. Or just 5 years of you doubting that Trump defeated Clinton. How's that? So they look at January like an anomaly after they've ignored 4 months of chaos and mayhem on the streets of America, where you had 10,000 people arrested, 25 lives lost, according to Wikipedia, and $1 to $2 billion in property damage, according to Wikipedia, with billions of more uninsured property damage. But January was an anomaly that everyone should remember, like Pearl Harbor to Democrats. I mean, the hypocrisy, the lack of awareness. These are the same Democrats who didn't go outside at night in major cities. There were curfews because of very peaceful protests. There were curfews. The Democratic mayors said, don't go outside at night. Don't do it. Don't go outside at night because there's very peaceful First Amendment protests. That's the hypocrisy. That's the hypocrisy. And then they say, oh my God, Trump, he's showing distrust on the heart of our democracy. by not accepting results. They didn't accept. And then they didn't accept results for 4 years. And then you get the snide and petulant rebuttal. Yeah, we did. We accepted the results. We just had to investigate for 4 years. We didn't even know if it was results that were derived from working with Putin. I mean, everyone with a functioning brain cell knows they set up and framed Trump. And now you have 2 people indicted for setting up and framing Trump. When they indicted General Michael Flynn for lying to the FBI, it wasn't about working with Russia. It was about speaking to Sergei Kislyak, which he didn't even the phone calls were already monitored. So we have no clue why he was indicted. And initially, Comey and McCabe said he was telling the truth. So we have no clue. But the United States government was leveled against him. When these two attorneys, Kevin Kleinsmith and this attorney from the law firm linked to the DNC, their indictments directly correlate with trying to set up and frame Trump. Ronald Foos, everything's great here. Good. Thank you for all the time you put into each upload and live stream. Thank you so very, very much. Ronald, thank you. Thank you also for the kind words always. Baltimore Ryan. Yo, Portland Andy, why'd you take my mod? Baltimore Ryan, thank you. Baltimore Ryan, thank you. Ronald Foos, everything great here. Ronald, thank you so much. Money, hello. Ronald, thank you so very, very much. Thank you, Ronald. As always, Baltimore, thank you. Not sure what you mean, but I think there's... I did see some things in the chat. Thank you, Baltimore. Thank you so very much, Ronald. Thank you so much. Have a fantastic Friday and weekend. And thank you, everybody. So, Ronald and Baltimore and everybody here, thank you so much. I can't do this without you. In the super chat, thank you. I can't do it without you. So they couldn't get Trump. And by the way, to my Jewish viewers, Shana Tova, it's the end of Yom Kippur. So this evening is the end of Yom Kippur. So Shana Tova to you and to everybody. They couldn't get Trump on anything. So they just have to fabricate as many lies as possible. Servant, thank you. Ronald, Baltimore, thank you. So they had to fabricate as many lies as possible. And now you have a second attorney indicted. You have to also look at a lot of Washington runs on public relations and also the backing or like John Durham cannot simply indict Comey tomorrow. If he does that, he will not have media on his side. He won't even have the entire Republican Party on his side. And Democrats, their heads will implode. So, politically. So, when people say, oh, Durham, he's not going to do anything, it's like, well, he just indicted the second attorney. And he might he might actually level more charges at the first one, Kevin Kleinsmith. Joe Dutchman, hey, Portland Andy, your voice is now radio friendly. Keep up the great work. Joe, hey, listen, thank you so very much for supporting this channel. Diane, thank you. Shanatavat, thank you. Hey, Portland Andy, your voice is now radio friendly. Keep up the great work. Awesome. The more communication between Portland Andy and, let's see, who else? And everybody else, the better for me. So if you have a message for Portland Andy, just tell me in the super chat. Joe, thank you. Joe Dutchman, thank you. Ronald, thank you. Baltimore, thank you. But you have, ladies and gentlemen, the second indictment, and I keep telling you, I keep saying this because it's important. Focus on love, your life, health, happiness, prosperity. I'm looking at this sign in this billboard, making the T-band great again. This is on I-83 in York County. So, Pennsylvania making the T-band great again. But, I mean, that's what happens when you leave $28 to $60 billion in weaponry. But anyway, I keep on saying, Baltimore Ryan, great work. Thank you, Baltimore Ryan. Thank you. Thank you. I keep on saying, ladies and gentlemen, that you have to focus. Thank you, Baltimore Ryan. Thank you, Paul Bartlett. Thank you, everybody. I can't do this without you. Thank you, Paul Bartlett. Baltimore Ryan, thank you. Paul and Baltimore and everybody here, and Andy, Andy, wherever you are, this is something you should focus on. Love, sweet love, life, joy, happiness, health, success, passion, energy, enthusiasm, laughter. You need to focus on that for the next 3 years because our country is going to experience a bumpy ride economically, in terms of foreign policy, because we have mashed potato brains who's ignoring everything, and his bumbling band of Blinkens and highly polished, highly educated imbeciles and buffoons. We're going to have a stock market crash. How do I know? Check out the stock market crash channel. I'm not. It's a shameless plug. Go ahead. This is the segment. It's right here. I'm putting it in the chat. It's the first segment on the stock market crash channel. I explain, and every single morning I'm going to talk about economic indicators, and I'm going to talk about data and information and analysis explaining why the stock market's going to tank. And today what I talked about are the following economic indicators. Inflation at inflation continuing to skyrocket. 13-year high, not seen since 2008. The Consumer Price Index, which is a part of inflation, at a high not seen since 2008. The Producer Price Index at a high not seen since over a decade. And then you have jobs that are missing expectations. One jobs miss, the greatest jobs miss on record, of 700,000 jobs that we should have had, but didn't. And consumer confidence, and I put all the links to everything that I say, all the links, ladies and gentlemen, all the articles and the links to those articles in the I put in the description section of the segments on Stock Market Crash channel. So, like, God forbid, I don't want it to happen, but it's going to happen, and I hope I'm wrong. Let me tell you something. If this country rebounds and, we don't have a stock market crash and people make fun of me, I'll be so happy. But let me tell you, it's going to happen. We're going to where in a handbasket. The rebound, and I talk about the quantitative easing. When they say the Fed is printing money, what they mean is QE, the Federal Reserve buying government debt, and that money going into the economy, but that money causing what's called moral hazard. You have investors, hedge funds, investment companies, brokerage firms, institutional investors, retirement accounts being encouraged to make risky investments either in stocks, because the money now is just they're pumping so much money into the economy that investors have an unhealthy or irrational incentive to keep buying up stocks. Then you have the issue of the derivatives market not being regulated. The Dodd-Frank laws that regulate derivatives have not been implemented yet. 10, 12, 11 years after they've been passed, they have not been implemented yet. So you're talking about a situation where Archegos, one small hedge fund, okay, went under. You're talking about a GameStop incident. And I'll put the link below to the Stock Market Crash channel in the first segment, where GameStop the price was elevated to a point where there was such a short squeeze that the small hedge fund had to be bailed out by larger hedge funds. And those two examples are examples where the hedge funds cannot deal with immense market volatility. When there's a serious drop, whether it's 20% or 30%, or God forbid 40%, you're going to have margin calls. And we have the greatest amount of margin debt ever, and we have margin debt as a percentage of GDP that rivals the 08, 2000, and 87 crashes, right before they crashed. And when market crashes take place, they take place after good news. So the market could keep going up until March of this coming year. Let's say they go up until March of 2022 because of good news, or because of news that perhaps better than expected, inflation didn't increase as much, unemployment is still high, but lower. But jobs, were more than expected. That type of thing. We haven't completely rebounded, but any kind of Pyrrhic victory that the market sees, or that the Wall Street, sees, might keep the market going up and up and up. That's when the crash would take place. I think you're probably going to look at something within the next, before March of 2020, but within the next year. If the stock market keeps going up and you have record highs in terms of margin debt, and you have derivatives that are so risky they could tank an entire hedge fund just because Viacom stock goes under. Just because Viacom stock goes under. I mean, think about that. Think about that. If you look at how these contracts, the derivatives that tanked the credit default swaps that tanked the economy in 2008 are the same types of derivatives that will tank the economy in the next year. They're unregulated, they're private contracts, or a lot of them, a great percentage of them are unregulated. Why? Because they can create a new derivative, and since they don't own the underlying stock, they don't have to inform the SEC or the federal government or the Federal Reserve of how much they borrowed to purchase the contract. The derivative contract and the contract for difference, for example, that caused the Archegos hedge fund. So that was the type of derivative that caused the Archegos to go under. It's called contract for difference. And it's just a bet on the price swing up or down. They believed that Viacom would go up. They were only betting on the swing up. And it went down. The money that the banks lent to Archegos, so they gave Archegos billions in money in loans to buy stocks on margin and buy derivatives on margin. That led to a catastrophe for both the banks and the hedge fund. This was just in March. We've already seen that these hedge funds cannot withstand, serious declines in the market, or even serious declines in individual stocks. We've already seen this. It's not like this is theoretical. We've seen a hedge fund go under a couple months back. We've already seen a hedge fund get bailed out because of a short squeeze. They're over-leveraged. The debt in the market is not, the debt in hedge funds and banks and among investors is not being adequately evaluated by regulators, because regulators don't know the true amount of debt. Because oftentimes, like I said, the hedge fund and the banks don't have to tell the Federal Reserve or the Securities Exchange Commission how much debt that they have, because the derivatives contracts are private contracts. There's no derivatives exchange. These are private contracts between the bank and the hedge fund. This is happening this is happening while AOC and Bernie Sanders, the billionaire class, the billionaires. It's happening right now. You can wear a dress that says tax the rich, but if the market tanks yet again because Dodd-Frank laws within the Dodd-Frank legislation haven't been enacted, and why haven't Bernie Sanders and AOC or Biden, why didn't they campaign, or why didn't they talk about for the last 4 years the fact that derivatives trading isn't regulated to the extent that Dodd-Frank demands? Why? Then they're going to pontificate, and then they're going to preach, and then they're going to talk about how, this theory and that theory and the billionaire class and the working class and all of this. It's like all these democratic socialists do, and I used to be the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet, but it wasn't because of socialism. It was because of foreign policy. I didn't want Clinton and the same people, the Lincoln Project people, who got us into never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts and actually opposed marriage equality. Lincoln Project people. They should have been canceled a long time ago. But you look, and it's like they're not talking about this. And when it happens, it's going to be really bad. Really, really, really bad. Okay? Because you already had the Fed pump as much money into the economy as possible through the quantitative easing. So they're going to continue pumping money. What will they do? Lower interest rates? Interest rates are at an all-time low. They're at like 0. So you can't lower interest rates any lower. Let's say there's a market crash. How does Biden respond? How does Powell and Yellen, how do they respond? You tell me. If there's a market crash tomorrow, God forbid, which there will be a market crash. I have a market crash channel. Okay? I'm telling you, it's going to happen. Just watch the channel. I'll explain every day why it will happen. And I hope it doesn't, and I hope I'm wrong. And if people want to make fun of me or insult me, that's great. No, I'll be so happy if I'm wrong. But how do they respond? You tell me. How do they respond? All 400 plus people. How do they respond? You can't lower interest rates any lower. If you pump more money into the economy after preventing people from working, so never ever let this euphemism that they use shield them from culpability and being directly responsible for all of this. When you prevent people from working because of a health crisis that primarily affects the oldest and God bless, like the oldest and least healthy, which, by the way, about 13 to 15,000 Americans, New Yorkers, lost their lives because of Andrew Cuomo putting infected people in nursing homes. And he was getting an Emmy for this. So never listen to Hollywood about anything. They gave him an Emmy for his leadership. And he wrote a book, and wonderful morally superior liberals bought the book on leadership lessons. That's like the captain of the Titanic writing a book on navigation. That's like Jeffrey Dahmer writing a book on culinary pursuits. Andrew Cuomo writing a book on leadership during the global health catastrophe is the most absurd thing you've ever heard in your life. But then again, it's always in relation to Trump. So the way they look at it, well, it's not Trump, so it's fine. But they can't do anything. It's like, what can you do other than if you've prevented people from working for a year, you've completely ended American society for 1 year. The rebound is not rebounding. We're not rebounding in the manner that people expect. We're not rebounding in the manner that's a normal rebound from such a thing. Okay? We have a labor shortage. We have supply chain shortages. We have inflation going up because the Fed has pumped money into the economy and continues to do so. Then there's Fed tapering that might take place where they stop the quantitative easing, and then that'll really frighten the market. Then there's LIBOR that's turning into SOFR, and that's really going to be a problem because we'll get to that later. Okay. And there are derivatives contracts based on LIBOR. So who knows what's going to happen with all of that. And if and when, because when there's a crash, Biden's administration will be completely blindsided. They are running the country based on media and public relations and long-standing Democratic Party political objectives. That's it. they only care about, like, they want the infrastructure bill passed, even if it's not going to help the economy. They want the infrastructure bill passed, and that's it. They want the infrastructure bill passed, even though you have a situation where it's actually estimated to decrease GDP. So the Warren School of Business says the infrastructure bill is going to decrease GDP in 20 years. And how on earth is rebuilding bridges and roads going to put hundreds of thousands of people back to work when not the entire labor force is not suited for that, number one. Number two, construction is a small part of the economy. Number three, you're talking about the highest unemployment rates in the top 10 highest unemployment rates in Democratic-run states. So how are you going to address unemployment through an infrastructure bill that talks about rebuilding bridges all throughout the country? And it's like, okay, but are you going to address the states that have the highest unemployment rates? Let's see. Infrastructure bill, jobs creation. Let's see what let's see the propaganda they're pumping now. Fact sheet. The American Jobs Plan. What kind of jobs could the infrastructure bill lead to? Marketplace.org. Okay. All right. Let's read this. Okay, let's read this as it loads. Oh my goodness, I remember DSL. Remember DSL? What kind of jobs could the infrastructure bill lead to? Marketplace, August 2nd. The Infrastructure and Investment and Jobs Act could create 650,000 jobs, according to an estimate by Mark Zandi, chief economist at Moody's Analytics. Pay could average about $70,000 a year for the jobs Zandi's referring to. Just take a look at a construction site. Okay, those are the kinds of things, manufactured things, they will need. But not everybody is suited for a construction site. So if you are, a mother of three and you're 50 years old and you've lost your job, do you want to work at a construction site? Maybe. I'm not saying no. The infrastructure projects could boost the economy in rural areas where it's difficult to find work. Could. Okay. Okay, let me get a different article here. Fact check. This is the whitehouse.gov. While the American Rescue Plan is changing the course of fix highways, rebuild bridges. This is how they're going to rebuild the economy, okay? This is how they're going to rebuild the economy. Let me know if there's buffering on your end, because there seems to be buffering on my end. Okay, no buffering. Okay, good. Okay. Fix highways, rebuild bridges, upgrade ports, airports, and transit systems. How on earth does this... Okay, so let's look at how many unemployed people we have. How many people are still unemployed in this country? We have hundreds of thousands of people. Let's get an exact number. Of course, the computer's acting very slow. Okay. The unemployment rate is at 5.2%. Okay? 5.2%. Now, how many people unemployed? I know it's in the hundreds of thousands. Why is the computer going so slow? Nebraska has the lowest unemployment rate in the U.S. Okay. So we have close to 8 to 10 million people unemployed. All right? We have about 8 million people unemployed. All right? That's a conservative estimate. You're going to address this issue, this grandiose dilemma of 8 million people unemployed. You're going to address this issue of 8 million people unemployed with fixing highways, rebuilding bridges, and upgrading ports. Are you serious? What percentage of the 8 million people unemployed does it take, like, they think it's the New Deal with FDR. Deliver clean drinking water, a renewed electric grid, and high-speed broadband to all Americans. How does that put people to work? Build, preserve, and retrofit more than 2 million homes and commercial buildings? Really? How long is that going to take? It takes 1 million years even to build a house. And the estimates are never it's always over budget. Modernize the nation's schools and childcare. Okay. Solidify the infrastructure of our care economy by creating jobs and raising wages and benefits for essential home care workers. How are you going to do this? How are you going to make this happen? Revitalize manufacturing, secure U.S. supply chain, which we have supply chain issues already. Invest in R&D, but how does this put 8 million people to work? Create good quality jobs that prevent. This is all public relations. We're going to we're in a handbasket. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, it is unbelievable. They're shovel ready. They're shovel ready. It's like 29% of unemployed Americans have been jobless for over a year. Okay, almost 1 out of 3. You can't. I mean. We did this to ourselves. We did this to ourselves because of media and because of media and because of the experts and because of all the authorities that we should listen to. We did this to ourselves. This was the worst thing that you could ever do for a society. The absolute worst thing you could ever do for a society is force a country not to work. We have 8 million people unemployed. 8 million people unemployed. And we have an eviction crisis that is getting worse. That's going to be, could be a catastrophe. So, I just, you look at where we're heading as a country, and it's like, it's not my style to be negative, like in the manner that I'm being. It's not negative, it's reality. Doom and gloom is not really my style, even though I talk about, corruption within the Democratic Party. that's not really doom and gloom. That's more like, okay, we see what you're doing, but media isn't talking about it, so I will. But when I tell everybody to, focus on life, love, happiness, joy, laughter, health, success, I don't want your life to be to go in the same trajectory as this country. We're going down. We're in a downward spiral, and media is just trying to put a Band-Aid on things. And Biden's administration is clueless. Okay, you want to know why there was a resistance to Trump? Because he got things done. They didn't like what he was getting done, even though there was record low unemployment, wage increases, hundreds of thousands of manufacturing jobs. There doesn't need to be a resistance to Biden. I'm not resisting Biden. I'm looking and saying, my God, what could happen next? What is this man doing? What does he know? I don't know what he's doing. How can you resist somebody? How can you resist Biden? You don't even know what he's doing. You don't even know what he stands for. What does he stand for? I don't know. You tell me. What does he stand for? What on earth does Biden stand for? I have no clue. I don't know. You tell me. What does Biden's administration want to do? They have an infrastructure bill and a jobs plan that that will not save the economy at all. It's the most absurd solution to a self-induced problem that was perpetuated by experts, media, and Democrats who touched themselves in ecstasy. Oh no, we can't open up yet. We can't open up yet. We can't open up yet. Oh no, Trump. The experts say Trump is wrong. We still have to give stimulus checks. And then they say, oh, well, we're going to give you stimulus checks. Well, you prevented people from working. So, you know what? It's like, screw up, target a low. You prevented people from working. When you prevent people from working, when you stop them from making money to feed their families, and you do so because you say, well, we're trying to protect you. We're trying to protect you. It's like you're not protecting anybody, and you're doing something that's completely unnatural and counterproductive. And that should never have been on the table. It should never, ever have been an option. It should never have been an option to prevent people from working, because you look at Sweden, that didn't happen. Look at Sweden, that did not happen. And don't say, you cannot say that, you cannot say, ladies and gentlemen, that, well, it was the global health catastrophe. The Democrats say, well, we had to do it. No, you didn't. That was a choice. That was a choice that you wanted to engage in because you knew it would hurt Trump. And you know that, there's a million things I could say, but I'm not going to say it. But you caused the eviction crisis. There is a labor shortage, an eviction crisis, a supply chain shortage, inflation, and everything else you could think of, with GDP being revised downwards because we're not rebounding, because what happened was a self-induced economic crash, and you can get out of an economic crash that is caused by economics a lot easier than you can an economic crash caused by morally superior, apoplectic, liberal Democrats who worship everything that the experts who agree with them say. The experts who don't agree with them are excommunicated, ostracized, demeaned, disparaged, and should never be listened to again. They're complete quacks. But the experts that agree with them are wonderful people. Peace and freedom, thank you. And subordinate, hello. And it's like, there's no, like, this. Here's the thing. I look at the country and I say, does Biden have a vision of anything? Give me a liberal vision. Give me, okay, the infrastructure plan is an attempt at being FDR when the economy is completely different from the 30s. We do not have an economy that will put hundreds of thousands back to work rebuilding bridges. It's not going to happen for a number of reasons. It's not going to happen. First of all, construction is inherently, there's so many, it's so difficult even to build a house. Building a small house takes a long time. Or it's more complicated than just, oh, you don't have any skills with this? Oh, yeah, go ahead and put some solar panels on this house and, build it. You, mother of three, go build it. Yeah, well, Biden said it's good. I mean, it makes no sense. Biden says infrastructure bill may add 19 million jobs. Biden slurs his speech, so maybe he was referring to cornflakes. Hey, man, cornflakes and 19 million jobs, man. Lotion, man. How is it going 19 million jobs? Not. President Biden said the sweeping infrastructure proposal he unveiled will result in 19 million jobs created over the next decade. Not. Here we have, automation being a huge thing. That's not really a problem with construction, I don't think, but the Moody's analysis also, Biden would marginally reduce growth. Would marginally reduce growth. Would marginally reduce growth. The Moody's analysis also found the Biden plan would marginally reduce growth. Why would you engage in a plan that would marginally reduce growth? Does that make any sense at all? Higher taxes on corporations. He wants to listen to this. He wants to raise taxes. While we're going to experience a stock market crash. He's going to raise taxes. I mean, it's just unbelievable. It is unbelievable. Moody's analysis also found that Biden's plan would marginally reduce growth next year. His own economic plan is going to reduce growth even by the loftiest estimate from Moody's. You're acting moody. And so, does that make any sense at all? How is it going to lead to 19 million jobs if the year after it's implemented, it's going to reduce growth? Can somebody answer me? Why would you want to reduce growth? Why? Why, Lord? Have you given us mashed potato brains? The Moody's analysis also found that Biden's plan would, quote, marginally reduce growth next year as higher taxes on corporations to pay for the initiatives. And guess what? They're going to lay off people because of the higher taxes. Would take effect before added infrastructure spending or projects take off. Still, the economy would shift towards added growth and jobs starting in 2023. Oh, you just wait. But wait, there's more. While there's a GDP decrease next year in 2022, it all ramps up It supercharges and turbocharges and heats up. You just wait. Mashed potato brains. Only Einstein had and Stephen Hawking had more intellect than mashed potato. Don't you understand? The economy is going to actually marginally reduce in growth next year in 2022. But in 2023, watch out. I projected that Biden's first term would see an increase in 11.4 million jobs. That ain't happening. That's not happening. Without the infrastructure plan of 13.5 million if he's able to score another major legislative victory. Oh, 11.4 million without the infrastructure plan, but a 13 million with it. So, this makes no sense at all. It makes no sense at all. I don't want to, like, this is the thing, you know? Like, this is the thing. I don't want to, this is the thing. I don't want to, I don't want to gleefully talk about the fact that our country is descending into a bad time because mashed potato brains. But this is horrible. This is horrible. And so Biden infrastructure spending won't outweigh the $2 trillion tax. Why are you going to raise taxes? Does it make sense to raise taxes after an economic collapse that's self-induced? You want to raise taxes. You want to engage in an infrastructure plan that's going to reduce GDP. And it's not just Moody's, it's the Wharton School of Business that also said it's going to reduce economic growth. What are you doing? What is this? Are you trying to ruin us? I think he is. What does that even mean? I mean, Conrad! Yay, some of my comments are making it through today. Always here to support Goodman. I have over $600 in my bank account, so the feds are going to start seeing that I donate to you. Conrad! I think, well, it might mess them up because I was a lifelong Democrat, so they might be like, oh, okay, no problem. Conrad! Thank you, Conrad. Thank you. Greatly appreciated. Conrad, tell me, does this make any sense? That Moody's says that Biden's plan would marginally reduce growth next year? Conrad, thank you. Does that make any sense at all? It makes no sense. It makes no sense. Conrad, thank you. It's going to reduce GDP by 2030. The infrastructure bill is going to reduce GDP. And why would that be a thing? Like, why would they push for this? And imagine they get this through and then there's a stock market crash. They're not going to implement any of it. Biden's corporate tax hike would shrink economy / U.S. jobs, studies show. So it's like let's see, the Wharton School of Business. They have a ultimately reducing GDP. So this is an April estimate. Ultimately reducing GDP. So, American Jobs Plan reduced GDP by a quarter percentage point by 2031. Why would you do that? And by 2050, reduce GDP by 0.8%. What does that mean? Why would that? Why would you do that? Moody's and the Wharton School of Business. Wharton budget model. Oh my God. They're like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to prevent people from working for a year and then pass legislation to reduce the economy, the size of the economy, reduce GDP, and also raise taxes. Depression on 3. 1, 2, 3. Depression. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Conrad, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very, very much. You know, we'll go 5 more minutes. We'll go 5 more minutes, and then we'll call it an evening. I will have an upload right after this segment. But they don't, like Conrad and everybody here, they don't run like, their idea of politics is feel good public relations statements. Trump has broken them. Trump has broken their spirits. He's entered their minds. He's like Freddy Krueger. It's like Nightmare on Elm Street with them and Trump. Mocking Trump, Pelosi says 2024 means he'd be impeached twice and defeated twice. Okay. Well, see, he was still president, though, so they could try to say anything they'd like. Paul Ryan was convinced Donald Trump had narcissistic personality. Why would anyone care what Paul Ryan thinks about anything? The same man who had the most hilarious workout photos of all time. It's like why would you care what Paul Ryan thinks about anything? Who cares what Paul Ryan thinks? That's all they have. Do you understand? The economy is in the tank. The economy is in the tank, and all they have is, oh, well, Trump was a narcissist. Like, these are the biggest narcissists of all time. And they're just so clueless. It's unbelievable. And the stock market is up primarily because corporate profits, the average consumer was willing to deal with higher prices because they were stuck in their home. U.S. GDP rose 6.5% last quarter, well below expectations. So, and it's constantly being revised downward. Anyway, give me your thoughts below. Ian Moyer! Ian Moyer! Trump had broken them. Thank you. Ian, as always. I can't thank you enough, Ian. I can't thank you enough, as always. Ian Moyer, Trump had broken them, and we get to deal with the fallout of insane people. That's right. Who should be nowhere near power. They are mentally broken. They're mentally and spiritually broken. Ian, they're mentally and spiritually broken. When you hear like Marianne Williamson talk about like spirituality and then she just votes Democrat, it's like I'm not going to preach about spirituality but you know what? I'm not bound to any political party. I don't think you should be bound to any political party. If it wasn't Trump, I'd either sit it out, or if it's somebody like Tulsi Gabbard, yes, I would seriously consider voting. But I'm not bound by a political party. I like Trump. And so it's like, I don't have, this is why people didn't like me when I was the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet. People didn't like me because I didn't give this blind allegiance to the Democratic Party. Tina Bobina! It's getting hot. Nice to see you. Tina Bobina, thank you. Hope all is well. Tina Bobina. Thank you so very much. I hope you're doing well, Tina. Thank you. Thank you so much. Ian, as always, thank you. Ian and Tina, thank you so very much. Ian, they're broken. Their spirits are broken. And they have mashed potato brains and bumbling Blinken, but they don't have they don't have an escape from their contempt and disdain of Trump. They just don't have an escape. There's no escaping. There's no escaping their dislike of Trump. They're consumed. They are absolutely consumed with contempt for Trump. They don't have they don't have any way to there's just no escape. Their lives revolve around there's just no rest, no respite, there's no rest. They can't stop disliking Trump because it's all they have. They can't point to like the infrastructure bill they don't even like. Look, Democrats don't even like their own. They're not fond of mashed potato brains. They don't even really care about the infrastructure bill. The most idealistic Democrats or left-leaning socialists are never going to get what they want. So the only thing that gets them really passionate is Trump. That's the only thing that really gets them going politically. It's the only thing they care about. It's the only thing they care about politically, really. They don't care about anything else. Ian, thank you as always. They don't care about anything else. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much. Ian, thank you so very much. I can't thank you enough, Ian, as always. Tina Bobina, thank you. I will have an upload in a couple of hours, ladies and gentlemen. And is there buffering right now, ladies and gentlemen? Let me know. I'm about to end right now, but let me know if you can hear me, even though we're about to end right now. Hello. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. I will have an upload in about 2 hours or so. So be here in about 2 hours, people. And, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. To my super chat, I can't thank you enough, everybody. Ian, thank you. Everybody, thank you. I'll see you in about 2 hours. Watch the upload in 2 hours. Thanks, everybody. Eric.